Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. It's an exciting time for our program. It's an exciting time for our fans, and it's an exciting time for the entire state as we welcome 20 new members to our family. And we got a lot better today as a football team, as a program, and we addressed a lot of needs that needed to be addressed. We're not done. We've got a lot of work left, but this was definitely a start in this early signing period as we signed 20 new members. We addressed a lot of deficiencies that we felt like we had to address: speed, size at wide receiver, depth in both the offense and defensive lines, guys that could immediately come in here and make an impact, address guys that would come in January and affect our roster and create competition. We did that with 8 guys that will be enrolling in January. Addressed with a quarterback to create depth, player of the year in his state, to come in and continue to build the depth at that position. So I'm really excited. Our staff is excited. I hope you're excited as we take a step in the direction of continuing to build this program. And as I mentioned, we're not done yet. We still have a few days here left on this early signing period, and obviously we've got the February signing date. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Chad, I should look this up. I think you guys signed maybe 9 or 10 guys last December. Obviously, you only had a couple weeks. What was it like, and how did it impact this class when you had a whole year as opposed to the rush job you had to do last year?
Well, I think it just shows, and I mentioned that last year, was the fact that, give us a chance to come in and build a relationship. And, we're relationship-based. That's what we put so much stock into, is building relationships with our players. When you go and you look at the previous places that we've been and the players that have played for us, that's a big deal. And we knew that the short period of time we had last year, it was hard to build essentially a year relationship in 14 days. But with us being able to spend an entire year, a year and a half, or right at a year, it definitely made a huge impact in signing 20. And I fully anticipate that number to continue to be like that every December.
What are the biggest lessons you've learned, recruiting for the first time in the SEC, a full cycle, and what will you take into that for 2020?
Well, I think, again, the message that I have put forth the day I walked in here is football is just what we do. It's what I do. It's not who I am. And to come out and be genuine and be who you are, and to share my passion for the fans that are out there across our great state that want the Hogs to be the best that they can possibly be, and to see the drive that our fans have, and the work ethic that our coaching staff has, to be who you are. That's really it. And when you're able to come in and sign 10 offensive players, immediate impact players, 10 immediate impact defensive players, it just says a lot about getting guys on campus. And that's what the challenge was to our staff since last January, is just get them on campus. If we can get them here, we have a chance, because we've got so much to sell. Our university has so much to offer. The state has so much to offer. And if you'll just get here on campus, we'll show you. And that's what we did.
Coach, you picked up another one about an hour ago with Greg jumping on board. How big was that? And kind of walk us through how that one.
Yeah, well, it's recruiting is never ending, and we've been talking to Greg for quite some time, and relationships that we've had, and trying to build that relationship to be strong, and just the needs. I think he saw the needs that would impact him to come here, and the opportunity to play. Just a fabulous football player, has won everywhere he's been. But when you look at all 10 defensive players, and you start with Greg Brooks, was huge for us out of Louisiana. Torian Carter, a big D lineman, that fits the need that we can play both inside and out. We anticipate him playing more inside with us. From Mansfield Legacy, Malik Chavis was the first in-state commit for us, the face of our class. From Rising, Colin Clay. Again, when we talk about footprint, what is our footprint? You have to create an identity. And you know, when I came in last December, we talked about what our identity is going to be. Our identity is going to be the state of Arkansas, and included in-state recruiting. You dive into Memphis, you dive into the Tulsa area, and then you get into Oklahoma. Colin Clay is an example of that, coming out of Oklahoma City. Big D lineman, going to create some depth. Eric Gregory, another big D lineman from Memphis, went to IMG. I'm excited about this young man. This young man will have an opportunity to come in and make an impact quickly. Enoch Jackson, a guy that's highly recruited, might be one of the most athletic guys that I've been around. To watch this guy move at the size that he is phenomenal, both at Mansfield Legacy, another guy at Mansfield Legacy. Marcus Miller from our state, from Warren, Arkansas, a guy that's comes out of a championship program, that's won, been successful, coached well. Again, a big D lineman, a young man that's got an opportunity to come in here, and it means something to be a Razorback. And that's another thing that we addressed so much, is we want people that it's a big deal to put that logo on the side of your helmet. And we felt like that we got that. Mateo Soli, obviously comes from a legend there. His daddy played here, and to be able to bring a former Hog and his son into this program, a fabulous football player from Douglasville, Georgia, was a guy, you know, that we would have been recruiting regardless if he would have been had the Razorback ties. I mean, this guy is absolutely dynamic and was wanted by everybody in the country. We anticipate him to come in. He'll be here in January and compete to play. We're anticipating that. He is a very serious, straight business guy. And that's what I love about him, and love about his family. And when you meet and you talk to Dad, but you really get to find out where everything comes from was with his mom, the seriousness and the demand of excellence that they all require. Zach Williams, another. His dad played here, another legend. And man, you can bring guys like that back in here. Ricky was a fabulous player here, and now his son to be able to come up here is remarkable. A guy that's long. We had to get some length at the defensive edge to rush the passer. Zach brings that. A highly recruited guy, and grew up wanting to be a Hog. And man, that means so much to us. And then Zach Zemos, the linebacker from Fort Bend Travis down in the Houston area, big, tall, rangy linebacker that has an opportunity to be effective on the pass rush. Excited about him. So that's the 10 defensive guys that we signed.
Turning you over to offense, you guys identified KJ Jefferson very early in the process. What went into that? I mean, you kind of put all your eggs in one basket with him. How do you decide on a quarterback like that, and just kind of walk us through his recruitment? Well,
it goes back to relationships, and I remember Coach Craddock, which did a fabulous job on recruiting him. You know, we started watching him early, started building a relationship. I remember that I was actually heading down to Little Rock on the day that he and his mom were coming here on a visit, and I remember him FaceTiming me because I couldn't be here. And sitting there and talking to them through FaceTime and just sharing my vision in the past quarterbacks that I've been associated with and being able to help develop, and then obviously our relationship that Coach Craddock has built with him. We knew this was the guy, and you know, all we needed was his word. And again, goes back to relationships, and he gave us his word in the summer, or early part, and stayed true to who he is, and that was special, especially from a quarterback. And was great to have him. Now, obviously, the success that young man's had, has been phenomenal. From when you look at all the offensive guys here, but KJ starts us off right there at the quarterback position. Big kid, big 6'3", 215, runs well, runs really well, throws the ball exceptionally well. Comes from a winning program. Myron Cunningham, an offensive lineman that we had to address the need for guys, older guys, to come in here at the offensive line. And took Myron, junior college, All-American from Warren, Ohio, Iowa Central. Big guy, 6'6", 300, will come in here. He'll be here in December or in January. Be able to step on the field and make a huge impact. TQ Jackson, a wide receiver out of Jefferson, Texas. Again, part of our footprint is, can we get into the state of Texas? And we signed 5 guys from the state of Texas. We're not done. We're going to sign some more before it's over with. But TQ Jackson, 6'4", big, tall wide receiver, fast, great track guy, and deep East Texas ties. And so our relationship, Jeff Traylor did a fabulous job, and Justin Stepp, but had to address the height and speed at wide receiver. We talked about KJ. Trey Knox, another big wide receiver, signed 3 players out of the state of Tennessee. And Trey is 6'5", 218 from Blackman High School in Murfreesboro. And again, we'll be here in January to compete. And Brady Latham, offensive lineman from Jinx, Oklahoma, Jinx High School. We know the history of that program. And so for what he brings, we're excited about him. Bo Leamer is another from Tyler Lee High School in Tyler, Texas, 6'5", 270. Shamar Nash, another wide receiver, will be here in January. A guy from IMG from Memphis, but 6'3", electric with the ball in his hands. Chaboise from Maryland, from Lackawanna Community College, 6'7", comes in immediately, has the range and the skill set to compete and compete quickly in the offensive line. A must-need. Dylan Rathke, another offensive lineman from University Lab down in Baton Rouge, a state championship program. Excited to have him and bringing that championship mentality here. And then Ricky Stromberg, and Ricky is a center. That we're excited to bring him in from Union High School, and we all know the program there that Coach Fred and that group has, and the championships that they have won, and right up the road in our footprint. But to bring that young man in here, 6'4", 280, we had him on campus and just totally a year ago, and totally just had a total transformation of his body and man, let me just tell you, this guy, everywhere I went, was mentioned. Every coach I talked to in the state of Oklahoma and in the Union or in the Tulsa area mentioned you, Coach. I'm just telling you, this is the guy. So there's our 10 offensive guys.
Looking, you got KJ, but are you still looking at a grad transfer or older quarterback? Or?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're still exploring options. And to bring an older quarterback in, and we'll see how that goes.
Just given how hard it is for freshman offensive linemen to play right away, are you looking for the freshmen that you've recruited in the offensive line to help right away, or are they more redshirt long-term projects?
No, I'm anticipating some of these guys playing, as well as the guys that were redshirted last year. We've got guys on our roster. Part of this is recruiting. The other part is developing the guys that we have on our roster, and we were able to play and redshirt some guys from last year. And what this is going to allow us to do is create competition. And we need competition at every position. We didn't have enough of that this year. And I think we've addressed that, and we're not through addressing it either.
Coach, out on the recruiting trail, now that you can talk about some of these prospects, do you have any interesting stories that you can tell us? I know sometimes coaches end up having 3 dinners in one night, or travel doesn't always work out like you think. Anything you can share with us?
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that the biggest thing that we started the Sunday, the day it opened, and, doing 9 home visits in a 7-day span. If you figure that up, you got to do a couple. And on some of the same nights. And sometimes you have to eat 2 dinners and 2 desserts. And you got to go back twice at each one to make sure that everybody understands that you really did like the food. And so there were plenty second helpings, and sometimes there were double meal nights and double dessert nights, and not much working out days. And so, but that's just what you do. And, you know, I love it. It's the chase. It's, you know, when, you know, being able to go all over. It could not be possible without our pilots. I mean, these guys were I think they were ready to get to the dead period quicker than anybody, because they were all over. And so we've got some fabulous pilots that make it happen, and they figure out a way, and that says a lot about our university and the commitment that we have and our university has to being successful. So yeah, a lot of stories. We ate some really good food. Here's the one thing I would say. I'm down in New Orleans recruiting, and I'm off on a side street, and I stop in this little sandwich place, this pool boy place that I wanted to go to, that I'd heard, and I'm sitting in there, and I got two people that come up to me, and they asked about Arkansas Razorback football, and they were from the state of Arkansas, and said, "Coach, I know you're down here recruiting. We're excited to see you out in this area." So, you know, just when you think no one knows you, you got two people come down, sit beside you, and eat a po' boy sandwich with you. So, love it. That's what it's about. So,
Chad, the kids from Mansfield, I understand they played side by side inside, I guess. Have you ever, in your experience, signed guys who played next to each other on the line, offense, defense, and how uncommon do you think that is?
I think it's really uncommon. You know, now with these guys, you know, Enoch predominantly played more inside, and Torian was more of an outside guy. We anticipate both these guys being inside guys for us, and so it's unique. I mean, we knew, and Coach Melson had some unfortunate injuries this year, but had one of the best defenses in the state, and we knew that these two young men were going to be able to be a big impact for our program. So I'm excited about it.
I don't know the first guy to say it, but they always talk about the SEC being a line of scrimmage league. I think you signed 6 offensive linemen, 6 defensive linemen so far. Just how do you feel about, you know, that many linemen and kind of, you know, equal additions on both sides of the ball?
Well, I know talking to Coach Fry, talking about 6 offensive linemen that we did sign, you know, we hope not to sign 6 ever again. We just felt like that, one, our depth, 2, our numbers. And so we had to you know, hit some immediate needs, and it's hard. It's hard to sign 6, but with the relationships that we had and developed, and to be able to bring 2 older guys in, which really puts 4 high school guys, which helped. And then we signed 7 defensive linemen, and I think that's an area of which, as you could see, it was a huge emphasis for us. We had to create some depth on both sides of the ball. It is a line of scrimmage league. And I think that's an area that we can make immediate improvements as far as just creating depth and competition.
Coach, how well do you feel like this class has addressed your need for speed?
Yeah, and not done yet. I will say that. We are faster. We're a better football team right now than we were when we woke up this morning. And so by signing these 20 guys made us better. We're faster. We're not anywhere where we need to be, but we're faster than what we were. And we're going to continue to address that. We're anticipating signing somewhere 8 to 9 between now and February 6th. And I assure you, in that 8 to 9, we'll address the speed and the areas of emphasis that we've already hit on.
After 2 years of it, do you like or dislike the early signing period?
Well, now that I've gone through it for the first time and been stationary through an entire cycle, to where you're able to build a relationship and focus on the kids that you're targeting, I like it. It allows us in the month of January, we've got 9 spots thereabouts that we will that we'll be obviously going and seeing, target areas for the 2019 class, but it will be nothing like going and trying to target 29. So it'll allow us to get a jump start on spring recruiting in the 2020s and the 2021s. And we were on the phone with I bet we've talked to 40 to 45 of them already today of the 2020s and letting them know that a year from right now is their day.
Speaking of 2020s, Coach, obviously one of the biggest selling points for the 2019s was some early playing time. Does that messaging kind of change when you bring in a third of your roster in one class?
No, not at all. No, if anything, it just continues to add to it. You know, to bring in guys, we're anticipating we'll sign anywhere from, if I had to guess right now in the 2020 class, we'll sign anywhere from 19 to 23. That's just a guesstimate right now, but these 19 to 23 will address the needs that we've got to have and keep hitting on speed, depth, and then guys have to be able to come in and compete to play. And you know, you're in a time now to where a lot of these guys, if you're recruiting the right way, they're with you 3 years. And that's what we're after. That's what we want. We want guys to be able to come in here, put on path to graduate in 3 years, and all of a sudden they're some of the top guys that the NFL's wanting. If they're doing that, then we're recruiting the right way.
Coach, are you looking at signing anyone else early? And also on the quarterback, if he can't come in at midterm, with someone, a graduate transfer that came in the summer, would you still consider that?
I would. I would still consider that. And you know, we are going to look to again get older at that position to create some depth. So yeah, it's, you know, we love the guys that we got, but at the same sense, we've got to. I don't want to get into a position to where we don't have enough, to where you get injury prone and all of a sudden you're in a really bind. So. But yeah, I anticipate bringing someone in, whether that be January, whether that be early summer, or whenever that may be. But you know, we'll see. We'll get the right fit. And
early signing,
yeah.
Is there any chance to be anyone else early?
There is. Yeah, there is. You know, they've got a 3-day window here that they could.
Obviously, you had some guys committed that decided to wait until February. What kind of challenge does that pose to you? And also, you have a pretty good handle on who's going to declare or at least get info from the NFL?
Yeah, you know, as far as that, I don't know if we'll have anybody declare early at this stage today. I have nothing really to report on that. You know, talking to the guys that I think that they're in a position to come back and improve their draft status going into their senior year. We'll see. And then the other question was? Yeah. You know, we had some guys that chose to wait till February. A lot of it had to do with, you know, whether school already being let out for Christmas and they wanted to have a celebration. You know, remember now these kids grew up in a time where they saw there was just really one signing day, and now we've gone to 2, and some of these guys want to still experience that where their whole school and everybody comes out. I'm great with that. I understand that, and you know, and I respect that. And I respect you know, I respect that, you know, their process that they want to go through. And so, again, it goes back to the relationships with it.
Coach, so many stories about how highly ranked this class is. And I heard a recruiting expert saying yesterday that if you looked at the top 20 for this year and asked which one doesn't belong, you know, in other words, what are you guys doing to be so good coming off a season like that?
Well, I think, you know, we're being who we are. You know, you're being genuine. You're going out and you know, everybody works hard. It's what do you have to sell? And I think that when you get kids on campus and you see, one, what our campus is like, the passion level for the Hogs in this state, and you know, you commit to play for the entire state of Arkansas, not just for the University of Arkansas, and they see the fact that they can come in and make an immediate impact. And obviously, so a lot of the players that we've previously coached and watched the development of these young men and seeing the success that these young men have had in the next level in the NFL. But if you ask me, say, what's one thing, I would say it goes back to relationships.
Coach, you had a lot of guys that are recruits kind of waving the flag, the new Arkansas, and really putting your message out there and stuff. Colin Clay's one, Torian Carter's another, Shamar Nash. What does that mean to have guys like that are really, you know, getting your message out there from the recruiting side of things?
Well, they never wavered. They never wavered. You know, even during the early part of the season, and we knew that there was going to be struggles. We knew that there was going to be some adversity through the course of this season. We felt that. And And we made it known to them early on. We made it known that there's a potential, this could happen. If it does happen, you need to understand up front where are you going to stand. And all along, they never wavered. If anything, the more adversity that we faced, the stronger they got. And the one really strong positive with social media with this group is they're already really close. They have built a unique relationship through social media, through communicating, and this is a very close-knit class already before they've even gotten here. But they never wavered. They actually got stronger the more adversity that we went through this year. And so it says a lot, and it says a lot about Colin Clay. And those guys and the guys that you mentioned there, Torian Carter and Enoch Jackson. I mean, these guys were and I can just go on, Trey Knox and Shamar Nash. I mean, it just goes on. And all of them, they all stayed strong through this whole process.
You've got the 20 commits today, the signees today. What's the biggest need from now until February, and where would you put linebacker on that list?
Yeah, I definitely feel that we'll sign a linebacker or two. I think we'll sign a couple more DBs. The potential to sign a few more there. A potential, big-time rush end could be if he's out there. Got to address a running back, a tight end, a wide receiver, and as we talked earlier about a quarterback. I mean, so there's still needs at every position. We're not just because we've signed this one class. We've got a lot of work to do, as I mentioned earlier, and to finish this deal and to get them through the finish line on February 6th. And so we still got a lot of needs, and we're going to address a lot of areas there.
Has anyone since Cole Kelly announced that they're not coming back from the team you had this last year?
Has anybody?
They said they're moving on. In other words,
no, not that we hadn't already known. I don't have any updates on that right now.
What was your reaction when Scooter let you know that he was going to be coming back? And then also a follow-up what you said earlier. So have Ryan, Pulley, and Sosa both told you that they're coming back as well? We've
had discussions, and with Scooter, Scooter has been and is going to be one of the top leaders of our football team this year moving forward. And I've shared that with him. I'm going to place an incredible amount of demand that and leadership style that he can do, and I know Chief is going to do the same thing. A guy who has an SEC leading tackler coming back. We expect him to be the guy, and he has been very instrumental in our recruiting process, and that says a lot about that young man.
The job that your assistant coaches did, this is the first time you guys have all really been together for a year putting this thing together, just the job that they did out there on the recruiting trail.
Well, I think, and I mentioned that earlier today with our staff. Our staff's done a phenomenal job, considering going through the adversity that the season that it put everyone through, and to see our guys never waver. I mean, they stayed, man, they were strong. They stayed on point. They knew that the importance of recruiting. They knew the importance of staying on those relationships, and just the time, the energy that all of them have put in, the sacrifice away from their families. I'm very appreciative of that, and I think the hard work is paid off. But they would be, if they were up here telling you, look, it's about these kids, it's about these players, and it's about what we can sell for the University of Arkansas.
Hey, Chad, you said a minute ago you'd prefer not to have to sign 6 linemen every year, but I know you rotate defensive linemen a lot more. Is 7 a good number like every year, or did you feel like that was more of a need?
Yeah, I really kind of felt it was more of a need. I think, somewhere on a top end year, you're probably going to look at 5, whether it's 3 DNs and 2 interior guys or vice versa. It just depends. This year I felt like that what we had to have moving forward to create the competition and the depth that, and especially going through this league now the first time, and what the both sides of the line of scrimmage require to be successful. And when you look at the teams that have been successful in this league this year, the one thing that they did have in common, they had a very, very dominant defensive line.
And the kids at Mansfield, was there one you guys recruited first, and then watching film you said, hey, this other guy's pretty good too? Kind of how'd that go down, recruiting two guys on the same line at the same high school?
You know, that's a great question there. Both of these guys were on our radar, and you know, going in last spring, actually January a year ago, going in and just seeing both of these guys, I think it's, you know, it was really kind of hard to see, you know, which one was first, but if I said one, the other one's going to get mad at me. But I guess I got their NLIs now, so I don't care. Huh?
You love them equally?
I do. I do. And they know it, too.
The two JUCO offensive linemen, obviously you're probably looking for them to help sooner rather than later. And flipping the kid from Tulsa, kind of made a late run there. Just how good was that to get all those guys in a short period late?
Well, it was huge, and it says a lot about Coach Fry. And, you know, his hard work and building that relationship up, and you know, because I only get one day out with them. So when they got me with them, I get one time. They're going in the school each week. I get one shot, and so he wanted to make sure it was the right time, and he wanted to save me going in with him for the last week. And you know, Coach Lunny did a great job. That's his area over there in the Tulsa area, and so we were very aware of Ricky. We just wanted to make sure that our numbers lined up to present itself. And but going over there and talking to all the coaches in that area and listening to them talk about the caliber player that Ricky is, we had to find a way, and that's what I did. And so, and then with the two junior college offensive linemen, we've been talking to these guys, wow, since September, and building that relationship, and that was big. That was really big for us.
Coach, we're used to seeing one or two guys from Texas the last few years. That was probably a big reason you got the job here, at least a factor, your ties to Texas. Just talk about that. There were 12 guys from Texas on the roster when you got here. You got 5 in this class and probably aren't done this year.
No, not done this year. And I think that as we talked about, we've got to use the relationships that we've had and that I have. All the coaches that, you know, Coach Traylor being a high school coach there, Mark Smith being a high school coach there, that's a part of our footprint, and it will be each and every year. And so we've got to, when you go back, and I've said this when I first got the job, when you look at the success of Razorback football back when it was at the pinnacle of its time, it had a great mixture. Obviously, you won the state of Arkansas with your players. You had players from Memphis, Tulsa, and you really had a good mixture of guys from the state of Texas. Now add that in with some Louisiana and you really in Missouri, and you build your roster off of it. So now Texas will be a major area for us outside of our entire state.
You got a big day Saturday with Chandler playing for a state title. Just I know he won one last year with John Stephen, but what's that going to be like watching him be the starting quarterback going for a state championship?
Yeah. You know what? Paula actually told me yesterday that Christmas was Tuesday, so it was, and so I said, look, let's get through Wednesday, and then let's get through Saturday. And so, you know, we're excited. We're excited about the entire team, and you know what that team has done to get there for the 3rd straight year, and just to have a small part of it, and being there, and obviously Chandler and what that group has done. He'd be the first to tell you that, you know, about the entire team. He would want to talk about the team, and but as a dad, I'll be the guy that'll be doubled over up in the stands. You won't see my face because I'll be. It's pretty nerve-wracking as a parent, but very proud of all of them, and Coach Allen and just what he represents and the impact that he's having and his staff is having in just one life, and that being my son's life.